Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Food Professor. Today's topic is composition of cereal grains. So, let's start. Cereal grains are composed of carbohydrates, protein, lipids, vitamins, and minerals. All cereals are classified as starchy grains because they contain at least 60% of this carbohydrate. Proteins from cereals have a good rate of digestibility but lack an adequate essential amino acid balance or composition, especially for preschool infants and children. The most limiting amino acid is lysine, followed by tryptophan in maize and threonine in most other cereals. The types and amounts of nutrients differ among genus and species and affect the nutritional, functional, and organoleptic properties of processed products. The interaction between genotype and environment, especially during grain filling and maturation, affects the chemical composition of all cereal grains. Cereal grains mostly contain starch and protein. Starch plays a key role in the functional property and processing of cereals. The starch has contrasting properties if it is in its native, gelatinized, or retrograded stages. Most food processing is aimed toward the partial or total starch gelatinization because the thermal-treated starch turns into molecules with a high affinity for water, which yields viscous doughs, gels, or slurries. The gelatinized starch starts to retrograde upon cooling. Retrogradation is also important because it is related to styling or loss of texture of most cereal grain. Proteins are the second most abundant chemical components or the various type of protein fractions distributed in the different anatomical parts of the grain. Those associated with the endosperm are commonly denominated gluten proteins, whereas those associated with the germ are the albumins and globulins. Only the wheat gluten possesses viscoelastic properties when the dough is hydrated and mixed. The range of protein of cereals is from 8% to 16%. So, the composition of cereal can be divided into two types: proximate composition and chemical composition. Proximate composition comprises of major constituents such as nutrients including fats, crude fats, proteins, ash, total carbohydrates, moisture, whereas the chemical composition includes all the constituents including non-nutrient as well as nutrients, e.g. vitamins, phenolic compounds, phytochemicals. It is a broader term. This table shows proximate composition of cereal grains. Let's talk about proximate composition in detail. First constituent is carbohydrates. The main constituent of cereals is the starch that forms part of the nitrogen-free extract NFET of the proximate analysis. This fraction also contains soluble sugars such as glucose, fructose, sucrose, and maltose. Structural carbohydrates, primarily associated with cell walls, which are insoluble and indigestible by the human system, constitute the crude fiber fraction. These are mainly present in the gluons or husks, pericarp, and endosperm cell walls. Storage carbohydrates include sugar and storage. These provide carbon for germination and sprouting and are also known as reserve materials. The endosperm is rich in soluble carbohydrates NFE and low in minerals, fat, and crude fiber. Oats, paddy, rice, and barley have high fiber because they are husk grains. The naked caryopsis of maize, sorghum, wheat, rye, triticale, and millet have higher starch, approximately 75%. Next constituent is proteins. The protein is generally analyzed by the Kjeldahl method, in which nitrogen is assayed and then converted to protein. The conversion factors usually used for wheat, rye, and triticale is 5.75. For rice, it is 5.95, and the rest of the cereals is 6.25. This means that the percentage of nitrogen in the protein is 17.4%, 16.8%, and 16.0% respectively. Protein contents of naked caryopsis range from 9% to 14%. Third constituent is fats and lipids. Lipids are relatively minor constituents in cereal grains. However, they play an important role in the shelf life and organoleptic properties of end products. In addition, the lipid fraction contains important nutrients and nutraceutical compounds with proven health benefits. Cereal lipids are divided into polar and non-polar and are mainly located in the germ. Most lipids are non-polar triglycerides. In most cereals, the triglycerides constitute more than 95% of the total lipidic fraction. Approximately 85% of the total fat content is located in the germ. particularly the scutellum, maize, sorghum, and pearl millet are the cereals that contain the highest amount of these compounds, whereas oats are considered the only cereal that contains significant quantities of lipids in the starchy endosperm. Lipids are usually determined by ether extraction in the Proximate analysis. The cereals with the highest amount of fat are pearl millet, maize, and sorghum because they possess a relatively larger churn to endosperm ratio compared to the rest of the cereals. Next is mineral and ash. The ash fraction is the inorganic or mineral material obtained after incineration in a muffle furnace. Most minerals are associated with the glumes, pericarp and aleurone layer. Thanks for watching. In the next video, we will talk about chemical composition of cereal grains. So stay tuned and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel.